In this lesson, students will be able to divide a one-digit divisor by up to 4 digits by using partial quotients. Students will discuss the multiplication equations used to find the quotients. In this lesson, students will write the partial quotients on top of the dividend. It is also common to see the partial quotients written to the right of the partial products. Either method is acceptable and both are considered the partial quotient method. When the partial quotients are written to the right of the partial products, it is also called lucky 7 because of the shape of the bar. The vocabulary for this lesson is a review. Partial product. A method of multiplying in which the value of each digit in a factor is multiplied separately, and then the partial products are added together. Partial quotient. A method of dividing in which multiples of the divisor are subtracted from the dividend, and then the partial quotients are added together. In today's lesson, we will learn to solve division problems without drawing the area model. Student Council collects recycling for a fundraiser. In 4 months, they collected 604 pounds of recycling. If their monthly collections were the same, how much did the students collect each month? We need to understand the information in the word problem. First, they collected 604 pounds of recycling. Next, we know they collected for 4 months. We need to figure out how much they collected each month. Our problem will be 604 divided by 4. We are going to write this problem in the division section of the division mat. We can use the partial quotient of 100. 100 times 4 equals 400. We will write the partial quotient 100 on top of the division symbol. Partial product of 400 is written below the dividend 604. Now we need to subtract 400 from 604. We have 204 remaining from the original dividend. What partial quotient and product can we use? It is important when considering partial quotients and products that we remember multiples of 10. We know that 10 times 4 equals 40 and 100 times 4 equals 400. Our next partial quotient needs to be between 10 and 100. We could try the halving strategy after multiplying by 100. So 1/2 of 100 would be 50. 50 times 4 equals 200. Since we have 204 remaining, this partial quotient and product will work. Write 50 as the partial quotient on top of the previous partial quotient of 100 and put the partial product 200 under 204. Next, 204 subtract 200 equals 4. Since the divisor is 4, we know that we need a partial quotient of 1. Write 1 on top of the other partial quotients and write 4 under the other 4. 4 minus 4 equals 0. There is no remainder. Now we need to sum the partial quotients. 100 plus 50 plus 1 equals 151. Student Council collected 151 pounds each month. Let's look at one more problem using the partial quotients method. Charlie and Joan are going on a fishing trip. They traveled a total of 845 miles. They drove for 3 days. How many miles did they drive each day? The problem is asking us to determine how many miles Charlie and Joan drove each day. We need to divide 845 into 3 days, or the problem is 845 divided by 3. We will write this in the division section on our mat. We need to determine what partial quotient and partial product relationships will help us solve the problem. We want to multiply the divisor by powers of 10 until we get close to 845. 10 times 3 equals 30, 10 times 3 equals 300, and 1,000 times 3 equals 3,000. When we multiply 3 times 1,000, we get 3,000, which is greater than our dividend. Let's look back at 100 times 3. 300 is less than 845. If we double it, will we get closer to 845? 200 times 3 equals 600. Yes, we are closer. Let's use 200 times 3. We will write the partial quotient of 200 on top of the division symbol, and we will place the partial product of 600 under 845. We now have a dividend of 245. This is less than 300, so we need to find a partial quotient less than 100. If we double 100 times 3, it is 20. If we double 10 times 3, it is 20 times 3, or 60. Let's see if we can get closer. Let's half 100 times 3 to make 50 times 3 equals 150. 150 is smaller than 245, so let's use the 50 times 3. Write the partial quotient of 50 on top of the 200. 245 subtract 150 equals 95. We know that 10 times 3 equals 30, 20 times 3 equals 60, and 30 times 3 equals 90. The partial quotient we want to use is 30. Write this on top of the other partial quotients. The partial product is 90. 95 subtract 90 equals 5. To complete the problem, we need to use 1 times 3. Write the 1 on top of the partial quotients and the 3 under the 5. We will take 5 subtract 3 and get 2. This is our remainder. We need to sum up the partial quotients. 200 plus 50 plus 30 plus 1 equals 281. Our answer is 281, remainder 2. Did we answer the question? Not yet. 281 is the number of miles they drove each day. The remainder 2 represents 2 additional miles that they need to drive. Perhaps they drove 2 extra miles on one day, or maybe they split the 2 extra miles over 2 days. In the problems we solved, we used one possible combination of partial quotients. It is important to remember that there are many combinations that will result in the correct quotient. The objective for this lesson was to use the partial quotient model to divide with a one-digit divisor. We met this objective by using partial products and explaining the multiplication strategies we used. We also used the division mat to help organize our work.